Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and healing from narcissistic relationships, as well as the myriad questions that come up. And here's one. What do you do if the narcissistic person in your life thinks that they're an empath? You're like, what? Yeah, it happens. You know, this is always an interesting sort of perceptual reversal, right? When a person who has so little empathy thinks that they have lots and may even walk around the world saying that I'm an empath. How does this happen? How does a narcissistic person think of themselves as hyper-empathic? Narcissism as a personality style is characterized by a tremendous lack of self-awareness. It's probably a huge root of a lot of the issues narcissistic people have. Narcissistic people do not understand or perhaps even care how their behavior affects other people. They're actually somewhat disconnected from what motivates them, and the narcissistic identity and goal setting are shaped by things external to them, like what other people would think, and perfectionism and grandiosity. And so they'll often shapeshift their goals just to stay on trend or just to get validation. So there's a relatively impoverished inner world for a person with a narcissistic personality style. Everything for them is largely governed from the outside. So where would they get the idea that they are empathic? That's because narcissistic people both underestimate and overestimate their effect on people, always in a way that benefits them. They will always underestimate or completely deny the harm that they do to other people, that their dismissive or mean comments would harm someone, and then gaslight you and minimize it when you do suggest that it did hurt you what they did. So that's an underestimate. Or they overestimate how much they have helped someone, or the positive influence they've had, or how generous they've been, how great they've been in someone's life. The self-appraisal is always inaccurate. So let's get to that empathy piece. Because narcissistic people are sort of selectively able to frame their bad behavior as not being a thing or not a problem, or it being an issue only because you're too sensitive, they see themselves as doing all of this good stuff. I am so helpful. I am so fun. I am so nice to my family. I gave my sister money when she needed money. I give money to the food bank, right? I took the kids to an amusement park. I called grandma when she was sick. I am such a great person. And because of this distorted vision they hold in themselves, it highlights further why narcissistic people will often view themselves as victims. If they truly believe that they are nice people, then it would make sense that they think people are being so terrible to them, even when they're lightly critiqued, and that's a calamity for them. It also means that you cannot have the empathy conversation with them. If you were to raise the idea with a narcissistic person in your life that maybe you're having a difficult time in your relationship with them because they're not sufficiently empathic, they will look at you as if you were out of your mind, or they'll gaslight you. Because many narcissistic people genuinely believe that they're empathic. So it must be true, and as a result, you couldn't be more wrong, and that means that the empathy conversation is dead in the water. Either they're going to do that, or they're just going to straight out gaslight you. Now it's interesting because narcissistic people are aware that empathy is a socially valued quality, even if they may also have contempt for it or view it as weak. They know being viewed as empathic is also a way to get validation, and that is, after all, the end game, isn't it? It's not that the narcissistic person doesn't get empathy or completely lacks it. It's too vulnerable for them, and their contempt and their entitlement are far noisier within them than their need, and as well as their need to dominate and control and be the very best one, right? Right now, we are definitely not living in the era of empathy. The internet, the economy, the media, and politics have all undercut it, but we need it. And at some level, even if we laugh at it and mock it and make fun of it, it is considered a good trait. At the very same time, yes, it is reviled, which is in some ways where narcissistic people in this current new world order are at a market advantage. They can fake empathy long enough to get what they want, but really don't have much use for it. They expect it, but don't want to give it out. It's like massages, right? We all want one, but we don't want to really put the effort into squeezing someone else's shoulders. I suppose that's why we pay for massages at a spa, and maybe therapy is in part paying for empathy. So all of that said, when that narcissistic person walks around and calls themselves an empath and uses that as an excuse for their bad behavior, do not be surprised. They really do believe that they are very empathic, and it just means that the rest of us have to be deeply aware that the empathy deficits of narcissism doesn't just mean we rarely get it from them, but they also have a deficit of insight, and they don't get that they don't have it. So when they call themselves an empath, they say things to you, how your words are terrible, and if you're trauma bonded enough, you may just believe what they're saying to you. None of this is simple, but awareness and knowledge are power. However, I think a lot of people are thrown when they're in a relationship with someone who's deeply narcissistic, who walks around and says, look how empathic I am. And you're thinking, there's got to be something off about me because I am not seeing it. Oh, you're seeing it. But it also is that reminder that they know empathy is not a bad quality, or at least it's valued societally. And they will take on that mantle, take on that identity, believe it's true. But the fact of the matter is you'll never be able to have a conversation with them about their lack thereof. Hope that's helpful, and thanks again.